All IELTS Speaking Part 2 Cue Cards, January_August 2025, with Band 8 sample answers. Instructions. Energetic person. Describe an energetic person you know. You should say who this person is, why you consider this person energetic, how you feel about this person. I'd like to share with you one of the most dynamic and inspiring friends I've ever had, with boundless energy and enthusiasm that never seems to run out. You might have had such a friend, but if not, I highly recommend finding one, especially if you are feeling stuck or unmotivated. Trust me, their energy and optimism will lift your spirits immediately and might even help you see the world in a brighter light. Last year, while I was down in the dumps, my therapist suggested expanding my connections to lift my mood. Despite my initial reluctance, I decided to boost my social circle. Through conversations and networking, I discovered Alex, a friend with infectious energy and an incredible outlook on life. You know, he is not only always on the go, but also incredibly passionate and curious about everything around him. Alex loves to take on new challenges and embark on exciting adventures, and I'm fortunate enough to join him on many of his endeavors. We often get together for outdoor activities like hiking or community events, enjoying his contagious positivity and the opportunity to learn from his unique perspectives. What truly sets Alex apart is his limitless enthusiasm. It extends beyond simply being active. He spreads joy wherever he goes, creating positive energy around him. He believes the more active and engaged he is, the more fulfilled and productive he becomes. What I admire most about Alex is his ability to create positive energy in any environment. He doesn't just keep himself motivated, he actively inspires others to be the best versions of themselves. In the end, I am over the moon to have him in my life, and I will never regret stepping out of my comfort zone to make that connection. If I hadn't made that decision to expand my social circle, I might never have experienced the transformative energy and inspiration Alex brings to my life. Your grandparents' job. Describe your grandparents' job. You should say what the job was, what you know about this job, if it was the only job he or she did, if you would like to do a job like this. I'd like to share with you one of the most inspiring elderly men I've ever known, my grandfather, a 90-year-old architect, who sadly passed away last year. He was not only a beloved family figure but also one of the most influential architects in his hometown. Architecture was both his passion and a family tradition that ran in our family. His ancestors were all architects, and the craft was passed down from one generation to the next. Unlike his ancestors, who relied on intuition and experience, he pursued formal education at one of Iran's top universities, combining inherited wisdom with academic training. This blend of experiential knowledge and academic training set him apart and allowed him to approach his work with both creativity and technical precision. His career extended beyond designing buildings. In his youth, he apprenticed with family members, gaining hands-on experience, and later, as an accomplished architect, he mentored young architects, sharing his knowledge and passion for education. Even in old age, his vivid recollections of early projects and forward-looking enthusiasm captivated everyone. You know, listening to his stories felt like stepping into the past, allowing you to see how cities and people had evolved. The more he talked, the more astonished you became. What interested me the most, apart from his extraordinary memory, was his enthusiasm for discussing the future, like a young dreamer, reminding me that age is merely a number. While being deeply inspired by my grandfather as a person and as an architect, I don't think I would choose to follow in his footsteps professionally. Although I deeply respect the profession, my interests lie in slightly different fields, All in all, I will forever admire his enthusiasm and timeless spirit. If I hadn't had the privilege of hearing his stories, I might never have developed such a deep appreciation for architecture and its impact on people's lives.
Science subject. Describe an area of science that interests you. You should say what science subject it is, how you got interested in it, how you learn this science, why this science is interesting to you. I'd like to share one of the most fascinating scientific fields I've ever encountered, animal-assisted therapy, or AAT. It's one of the most intriguing areas of mental health treatment, which you might have heard about. But, let me tell you why I am terribly keen on learning more about it in the future. Last year, while I was down in the dumps, my therapist suggested adopting a pet to lift my mood. While the idea initially intrigued me, I was hesitant, not only because of my uncertainty about animals' positive impacts, but also due to the potential costs and commitments involved. However, I decided to keep an open mind and adopted a cat now named Belfie. Let me tell you, upon stepping into my home, his ability to reduce my stress sparked my curiosity about the scientific reasons behind it. To satisfy my curiosity, I began an investigation and came across articles related to it. The more I read, the more fascinated I became. Studies have shown that simply interacting with animals can lower blood pressure, decrease cortisol, the stress hormone, and even boost the production of oxytocin and endorphins, leading to a calmer state of mind and a more positive outlook. These findings helped explain the profound sense of peace I felt when spending time with Belfie. Since then, I've become a passionate advocate for AAT. My fascination mainly stemmed from its scarcity in my country. I would like to broaden my knowledge through volunteering with AAT programs overseas and ultimately bring this expertise back home to aid vulnerable populations, including elderly individuals in nursing homes who could benefit from companionship and emotional support, as well as children with autism, who could foster social skills and alleviate anxiety through animal interactions. All in all, this journey is not solely about personal growth, it's about making a real difference in my community's well-being. If I hadn't taken that step to adopt a pet, I might never have discovered the profound effects of AAT.
Vehicle that broke down. Describe an occasion when the vehicle you took broke down in your travel. You should say where you were going, who was with you, or whether it took long to repair it, what impact this breakdown had. I'd like to share one of the most memorable road trips I've ever undertaken with my friend by public transportation along Chalice Road, which you might have heard about its scenic beauty and its twists and turns as well. Last year, during a tough time, my friend suggested camping at a pristine campsite in the north of Iran. I wasn't terribly keen initially, not only due to my busy schedule, but also because I thought camping might not be my cup of tea. However, his enthusiastic recommendation persuaded me to keep an open mind and give it a try. Therefore, our adventure commenced. We set off early in the morning by bus, which was supposed to be a comfortable 4-hour journey. However, the bus broke down midway, right at one of the most isolated stretches of Chalice Road, surrounded by dense forests and steep cliffs. The nightmare started when the engine gave out and the driver announced that repairs would take a few hours. At first, I was frustrated and thought our whole trip was ruined. However, I did not let it dampen my spirits by focusing on the positive things I had heard about the destination. Moreover, the scenery around us was so incredible that we soon forgot about the inconvenience. The lush green trees, the crisp mountain air, and the calming sound of a nearby river transformed the situation into a unique experience. While waiting, we made the most of the situation, embracing the unexpected. To my surprise, the more we embraced the situation, the more we enjoyed ourselves. Someone even brought out a guitar, and we all sang songs together while sharing snacks and stories. In the end, this trip taught me sometimes the most thrilling adventures are the unplanned ones. If I hadn't experienced this mechanical failure, I might never have discovered the joy of turning challenges into unforgettable memories.
Place in the village you visited. Describe a place in the village you visited. You should say what place it is, when you went there, what you did there, how you feel about it. I'd like to share with you one of the most peaceful places I've ever seen. A hidden valley in the middle of a remote village in the Alborz Mountains. It is my go-to spot for blowing off steam and recharging my batteries. You might have experienced the calming effect of such natural retreats, but if not, trust me, it's worth trying. A few years back, while I was down in the dumps, my therapist gave me a cool tip. Find your happy place and escape. So, upon coming across this pristine valley in a TV program, I packed my bags, hit the road, and gave it a shot. Even though I thought it might not be my cup of tea, I was wrong. It was the best decision ever. Since then, whenever life becomes overwhelming, I escape there. Anyway, back to my trip. Although I set off early in the morning, the bumpy and winding roads prolonged my journey considerably. It became evident that the demanding nature of its roads deters many visitors, keeping it untouched by tourists or city dwellers. When finally arriving at the valley, I was immediately captivated by the stunning views. They were otherworldly, like something out of a movie. Moreover, what I still find engrossing, apart from its jaw-dropping scenery, is its tranquility, far from the city's chaos, which not only relieves stress, but also lifts my spirits. As you can imagine, I engaged in all sorts of fun activities there, such as hiking, taking tons of photos, and spending a mood-boosting night under the dazzling stars. To my surprise, the more I immersed myself in this natural beauty, the more cheerful I became. All in all, I am over the moon to have discovered this hidden gem. It was truly a trip of a lifetime, and I'll never regret trying it. If I hadn't taken that chance, I might never have known this place. So next time you're overwhelmed, do yourself a favor, find your happy place and escape. I promise you won't regret it. Positive change in your daily routine. Describe a positive change that you have made recently in your daily routine. You should say what the change is, how you've made it, why you think it's a positive change, how you feel about the change. I'd like to share one of the most transformative routines I've ever adopted to boost my physical and mental well-being: yoga. You might have tried it already, but if not, let me tell you about its incredible power to enhance flexibility, mental clarity, stress management, physical strength, and inner peace. Last year, while I was snowed under with work deadlines and personal responsibilities, a close friend recommended trying yoga to help manage my stress. To be honest, I was initially hesitant to start it, not only due to my tight schedule, but also because I thought it might not be my thing. Meditation and stretching sounded more like sitting still and feeling restless. But, despite my hesitation, his enthusiastic recommendation persuaded me to keep an open mind and give it a try. And let me tell you, it was a game changer. Upon starting my first yoga session, my tension melted away, giving me a sense of calm and clarity that I hadn't experienced in a long time. That first session sparked something in me, and I decided to keep going. Mornings became my dedicated yoga time, 30 minutes at 9 a.m., just me and my mat. What began as an experiment to manage stress gradually evolved into a ritual I now cherish. What truly astonishes me is that the more I practice, the more flexible I become, both physically and mentally. I noticed myself approaching challenges at work with a clearer, calmer mind. Stress still came, but I didn't let it overwhelm me the way it used to. It felt like yoga was rewiring my mind to respond with more grace and resilience. All in all, I am grateful for this positive change, and I wouldn't trade this routine for anything else, at least not until I find something even more beneficial for my overall well-being. If I hadn't overcome my initial hesitation, I might never have discovered this wonderful path to self-improvement and inner peace. Something you bought but returned. Describe something you bought but returned in the end. You should say what it is, when you bought it, why you returned it, how you returned it. I'd like to share one of the most frustrating experiences I've ever had, returning a purchase. You might have experienced the pure joy of finding a great deal, but sometimes, that excitement quickly turns into disappointment. As someone who loves finding bargains, I've always enjoyed the thrill of snagging quality items at a fraction of their original price. Whether it's clothes or home decor, I pride myself on my ability to spot a good deal. But this time, my instincts failed me. A couple of months ago, while I was feeling a bit down, my friend suggested a shopping spree, knowing that retail therapy can cheer me up like magic. To be honest, I was reluctant to go, not only due to my busy schedule, but also because of my tight budget. Nevertheless, after some persuasion, I figured, what's the harm in looking? So, I decided to give it a try. While we were browsing, a beautiful tile in an antique shop caught our eyes. Its intricate patterns and vibrant colors were like a tiny, colorful artwork. We entered the shop to inquire about the price. The seller's enthusiastic explanation and persuasive manner convinced me to buy it on the spot, without a second thought. However, the joy didn't last long. Just a few shops later, I spotted the exact same tile selling for half the price. I couldn't believe it. A wave of disappointment and frustration washed over me as I realized I'd been overcharged. So, I decided to go back to the first shop and ask for a refund. Explaining my situation, I politely told the seller that I'd seen the same tile for much cheaper elsewhere. At first, he hesitated, but after some persistence and a bit of negotiation, he agreed to take the tile back and refund my money. In the end, that night taught me a valuable lesson I won't forget. Always do your research before making a purchase. If I hadn't compared prices at other stores, I might never have realized I'd overpaid. Forgetting something important. Describe an occasion when you forgot something important. You should say what you forgot, why you forgot it, when it was, how you felt. I'd like to share with you one of the most unforgettable mishaps I've ever experienced, forgetting something crucial on an important day. You might have been in a similar situation, but let me tell you my story. A couple of months ago, I received an email from a prestigious company inviting me for a job interview. It was the kind of opportunity one had only dreamed of, and seeing their name in my inbox made me feel over the moon. I couldn't believe they had chosen me. The email provided all the details, time, location, and even a note about dressing formally to match their professional environment. While feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness, I prepared meticulously the night before. I selected a tailored blazer, elegant trousers, and matching accessories, making sure every detail was perfect. I also packed my bag carefully with everything I thought I'd need: my resume, a notebook, and even a water bottle. But, as they say, the more careful you think you've been, the more likely you are to miss something small yet significant. The next morning, in my rush to leave, I forgot to transfer my keys from my everyday bag to the one I had packed. The interview itself went perfectly. I not only nailed the questions confidently but also felt a genuine connection with the interviewers. However, my joy turned into dismay when I returned home and realized my keys were in the wrong bag. To make matters worse, my phone battery was nearly dead, and I couldn't call anyone for help. After some frustration, I managed to contact my landlord, who came to my rescue with a spare key. In the end, that day taught me an unforgettable lesson: always double-check your essentials before leaving the house. Now, I keep my keys in a designated spot to prevent similar mishaps. If I hadn't forgotten my keys, I might never have learned this valuable lesson.
Important rule. Describe an important rule at school or at work. You should say what rule it is, why you think it is important, what happens if someone breaks it, how you feel about it. I'd like to share one of the most unique experiences I've ever had, wearing a company uniform. You might have faced a similar situation where your workplace dress code suddenly changed, but let me tell you my story. Last year, while working full-time at an architectural firm, my boss introduced a new uniform policy and distributed it to us at no cost. It was bright green t-shirts and dark blue jeans. To be honest, I was initially reluctant to embrace this change, not only due to my passion for personal style but also because green wasn't exactly my go-to color. Anyway, despite my reservations, I decided to keep an open mind and give it a try. Now let me tell you, upon trying the t-shirt, I was pleasantly surprised. It was awesome, so soft and comfy, and the fit was perfect. And the green? It wasn't as bad as I had imagined. It made us all look like a team. I realized it isn't just a dress code, it's also a symbol of belonging and commitment, fostering a sense of unity within the office. To my surprise, the more time passed, the more my initial hesitation turned into a positive outlook. I became less concerned with my own personal style and more focused on the sense of solidarity it instilled among the team. Embracing the uniform even shifted my perspective on workplace culture, collaboration, and even my own role within the office. On the other hand, breaking that rule wasn't the end of the world. The consequences weren't scary, just a gentle warning from the boss to stick with the policy. It was clear that the intention behind the rule wasn't to impose unnecessary restrictions, but about encouraging professionalism and unity. Looking back, I am grateful for having welcomed this opportunity. It was such a new experience, and I won't regret embracing it. If I hadn't overcome my initial hesitation, I might never have realized its positive impacts.
Important decision. Describe an important decision that you once made. You should say what the decision was, how you made your decision, what the results of decision were, why it was difficult to make. I'd like to share one of the most life-changing decisions I've ever made: adopting a pet. You might have experienced the unique joy of having a furry companion, but if not, let me tell you about their incredible power to enhance human well-being. Last year, when I was struggling with depression, my therapist suggested adopting a pet as a way to lift my spirits. Initially, I was hesitant, not only because of my uncertainty about animals' positive impacts, but also due to the potential costs and commitments involved. Anyway, despite my doubts, I decided to take a leap of faith and brought home a white Persian cat, whom I named Belfi. Let me tell you, upon stepping into my home, he opened a new and positive chapter in my life. His playful energy and curious nature brightened the atmosphere. Taking care of Belfi gave me a sense of purpose I had been desperately lacking. Feeding him, grooming him, and playing with him turned into small rituals that structured my days and provided comfort in ways I hadn't expected. Now, I'm looking forward to returning home after a long day, no longer fearing an empty apartment. What truly astonishes me is the fact that Belfi isn't just a cat, he's a furry therapist. His quiet presence during my low moments, playful distractions, and unconditional love have been transformative. Amazingly, he seems to sense my moods, curling up beside me on overwhelming days and softly purring as if to say, "You're not alone." You know, the more time I spend with Belfi, the more my mental and emotional well-being is enhanced. He opened up doors I never knew existed. Now, looking back, I am over the moon to have him in my life, and I won't regret opening my heart and home to him. If I hadn't made this decision, I might never have experienced the healing power of a pet's companionship and the unconditional love Belfi brings. If you are down, do yourself a favor and consider adopting a pet. Trust me, you won't regret it.
Country you'd like to visit. Describe a foreign country you'd like to visit in the future. You should say what it is, where it is, how you know about it, why it is interesting. I'd like to share with you one of the most fascinating countries I've ever dreamed of visiting, the Maldives. This tropical paradise, located in the Indian Ocean southwest of Sri Lanka and India, is a true symbol of natural beauty and tranquility. You might have heard of its stunning overwater villas and crystal-clear waters, but if not, let me tell you a bit more about this breathtaking archipelago. My heart has been stolen by the Maldives ever since I saw a documentary highlighting its mesmerizing marine life, vibrant coral reefs, and the rich traditions of its island communities. My dream of visiting this tropical paradise is finally coming true this summer, and I won't be flying solo. My friend and I have been dreaming of this adventure for ages, and we're finally making it happen. What makes the Maldives so extraordinary isn't just its natural beauty, but also its ability to offer a sanctuary for relaxation and rejuvenation. With its serene surroundings and unspoiled landscapes, the islands offer an escape from the hustle and bustle of daily life and allow you to connect with nature in a way that feels almost otherworldly. Beyond its pristine beaches, the Maldives also stands as a testament to environmental resilience. As a nation at the forefront of the climate change crisis, its innovative sustainability projects and commitment to preserving its fragile ecosystems are nothing short of inspiring. And, of course, as any traveler knows, choosing the perfect destination also means finding a place where you can recharge both mentally and physically, with world-class resorts, spa retreats, and activities like snorkeling and diving. All in all, I'm grateful for that captivating program that sparked my interest in the Maldives. If I hadn't stumbled upon it, I might never have considered traveling to such a faraway yet enchanting part of the world. Now, I can't wait to experience its beauty firsthand and create memories that will last a lifetime. Promise. Describe a time you made a promise to someone. You should say what the promise was, to whom you made it, whether it was easy or difficult to keep. I'd like to share with you one of the most challenging promises I've ever made to my family doctor: giving up fast food. You might have guessed why, but if not, let me explain my health situation. A couple of months ago, during my annual health checkup, my doctor reviewed my blood test results with a concerned expression. He told me that my cholesterol levels were alarmingly high, which put me at risk for various health problems. He took the time to explain the potential consequences of my eating habits, and it was a wake-up call. By the end of our conversation, I made a firm promise to completely cut out junk food and focus on eating healthy, home-cooked meals. At first, I thought keeping this promise wouldn't be too difficult. But as time went on, I realized just how much fast food had become a part of my routine. With long work hours, it had always been my go-to option: convenient, quick, and hard to resist. The tempting smells and ease of access made staying on track incredibly challenging. However, every time I was tempted, I reminded myself of the promise I made and how it was directly tied to my health. To make it easier, I started meal prepping on weekends and carrying healthy snacks with me. Gradually, the process became more manageable. The more I stuck to this routine, the more I noticed improvements in my energy levels and overall health. 3 months later, my cholesterol levels have significantly improved, and my doctor is genuinely proud of the progress I've made. All in all, this experience has taught me that while keeping a promise can be tough, the rewards make it worthwhile, especially when it comes to health. Moreover, it showed me not only the power of discipline, but also how a simple promise can spark major positive change. If I hadn't made that commitment, I might never have taken my health seriously. Now, I feel healthier, more energetic, and proud of the positive steps I've taken toward a better lifestyle.
Line from a song or poem. Describe a line, or a few words, that you remember from a song or poem. You should say what it is, which song or poem it is from, how you knew it, how you feel about it. I'd like to share with you one of the most unforgettable musical experiences I've ever had. Hearing "My Heart Will Go On" from the Titanic movie. Everyone might have heard this iconic song, but let me explain why it holds a special place in my heart. The first time I heard it was while watching Titanic for the very first time. I was just a teenager, sitting on the edge of my seat, completely captivated by the love story of Jack and Rose. When this song played during the emotional climax, it felt as though the music itself carried the entire weight of their story. The haunting melody and Celine Dion's powerful vocals captured my heart immediately, leaving me breathless and teary-eyed. At the time, I thought it would just be a beautiful song associated with a single memory. But then it seemed to pop up everywhere: coffee shops, social media, street performances, even as background music in elevators. It was like the whole world couldn't get enough of it. The more I heard it, the deeper it resonated with me. Every time, it brought back scenes from the film, the tragic romance, the sinking ship, the promise of love lasting beyond life itself. Initially, the constant repetition was charming. Then it became somewhat overwhelming. Yet, despite hearing it countless times in different contexts, I never truly tired of it. The song had become more than just a soundtrack to a movie. It was a timeless anthem, a melody that somehow represented resilience, love, and the human capacity to remember and cherish. Now, whenever I hear that iconic opening line, it evokes a mix of nostalgia and comfort. It's incredible how a simple melody and a few heartfelt words can touch so many lives across the world. If I hadn't experienced that first moment of watching Titanic, I might not have realized how music can transport us, preserve our memories, and remind us of life's beauty and fragility.
Interesting building. Describe an interesting building. You should say where this building is, what it looks like, what it used for, or explain why you like it. I'd like to share with you one of the most remarkable buildings I've ever come across, One World Trade Center in New York City, rising like a phoenix from the ashes of profound national tragedy. Everyone might have heard about the events of September 11, 2001, when the Twin Towers were brought to their knees in a terrorist attack. But anyway, let me tell you, what makes One World Trade Center truly extraordinary is not just its architectural brilliance but the story it tells. Located in Lower Manhattan, the tower stands on ground once symbolized profound loss and sorrow. One World Trade Center was designed and built not only to replace the fallen towers but also as a powerful symbol of resilience, hope, and recovery. The building itself is stunning, 1,776 feet, a number representing American independence. You know, the building became more than just a structure, it reclaims the spirit of a nation that chose to rebuild rather than remain broken, proving that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. My first experience with its magic was during a televised Christmas show, where the building's facade came alive with dazzling light displays and intricate fireworks, creating a breathtaking scene against the New York City skyline. Its modern design, with striking glass panels and geometric precision, reflects both mourning and celebration. Beyond its physical beauty, the building serves multiple purposes. It houses offices, a museum, an observation deck, and stands as a memorial to those lost on the 9th of November. What inspires me most about One World Trade Center beyond its historical significance, architectural beauty, is the emotions it evokes. It is not just a skyscraper, it is a statement of resilience and renewal. The more I learn about its history, the more I realize its significance. Every time I think of it, I am reminded that even in our darkest moments, there is always a way to rebuild, remember, move forward, and rise again. If I hadn't learned about its history, I might never have fully understood its profound significance.
Plan you had to change. Describe a plan you had to change. You should say what the plan was, why you had to change it, what the new plan was, how you felt about the change. I'd like to share one of the most exciting trips I ever planned, one that, unfortunately, never happened. Everyone might have experienced such last-minute changes, but if not, let me tell you how unpredictable life can be. Last year, while hanging out in a cafe, my friend and I organized a mountain getaway. As you know, coordinating 6 people for a trip can be like herding cats, given their diverse excuses, from busy schedules to tight budgets. However, to our surprise, we all not only eagerly agreed to give it a shot, but also booked the tickets right then and there. So, I returned home and packed my bags, excited about the peaceful hikes and fresh mountain air. But this excitement didn't last long. My thoughts were suddenly interrupted by the ringing of my phone. What happened next was predictable, yet another excuse. My friend called to inform me that due to an unexpected work commitment, she had to cancel, and soon, like dominoes, the others followed suit, and our carefully planned adventure fell apart before it even began. To this day, our postponed trip is still waiting for an alternative time, a day that never seems to come. At that moment, I had 2 options, either sulk or make the best of it. Instead of dwelling on the disappointment, I decided to take a solo trip to a nearby town, exploring its hidden gems at my own pace. It wasn't the mountain retreat I had envisioned, but it turned out to be a refreshing experience nonetheless. Looking back, while I felt a mixture of disappointment and frustration, I didn't give up hope. This experience taught me the importance of flexibility in planning. Instead of seeing it as a complete failure, I've come to view it as a reminder that good things are worth waiting for. You know, life happens. Plans shift, schedules clash, and sometimes adventures gotta wait. Maybe the more we wait, the tastier it becomes, who knows? If I hadn't encountered this delay, I might never have learned the value of patience and the joy of spontaneous solo adventures.
Truth. Describe a time when it was important to tell your friend the truth. You should say who your friend is, what the truth was, what your friend's reaction was, why it was important to tell the truth. I'd like to share with you one of the most challenging moments I've ever faced, telling my friend Alex the truth about his inappropriate outfit choice. Everyone might have faced a situation where they had to make a difficult decision about whether to be honest, even if it risked hurting someone's feelings. But anyway, let me tell you why this moment was so important. A couple of months ago, Alex got an interview with a prestigious company, an opportunity he had only dreamed of, and getting that invitation made him feel over the moon. The day before his interview, Alex came to my apartment to show me his chosen outfit. As his closest friend since college, I was taken aback when I saw that he planned to wear an old, ill-fitting suit that he'd had since graduation, with worn-out pants. To make matters worse, he had paired it with bright orange sneakers, believing they would help him stand out. The moment I saw him, I knew I had to bite the bullet and speak up. His interview was too important to let him walk in looking unprofessional. I hesitated for a moment, not wanting to embarrass him. I knew staying silent would do him no favors. So, with great care, I explained that while his enthusiasm was admirable, his outfit might send the wrong message to potential employers. I suggested renting or borrowing a suit from me. At first, Alex was defensive and a bit hurt, believing his style would not only showcase his personality but also make him more memorable. However, after I shared professional dress guidelines and explained how first impressions could impact his chances, especially in a competitive job market, he began to understand. You know, what made the conversation easier was that I focused on how much I wanted him to succeed, rather than criticizing his choices. Looking back, telling the truth was tough, but necessary. If I hadn't spoken up, he might have unknowingly hurt his chances. Sometimes, honesty isn't just about being truthful, it's about looking out for those we care about, even when it's uncomfortable.
Open person. Describe a person who shows his or her feelings openly. You should say who this person is, how you know this person, why you think this person is open, how you feel about this person. I'd like to share with you one of the most emotionally expressive friends I've ever had, one with boundless emotional depth. You might have met someone like her before, but if not, I assure you, such people are rare treasures in our lives. Last year, while I was down in the dumps, my therapist suggested expanding my connections to lift my mood. Despite initial reluctance, I decided to boost my social circle. So, when my friend Sarah invited me to her reunion party, I jumped at the chance. As soon as I walked in, the room was filled with laughter, joy, and the familiar faces of friends I hadn't seen in years. While navigating the crowd, I discovered Leah, a friend of Sarah whom I had yet to meet. As it turned out, she was one of the most open-hearted and emotionally transparent people I'd ever encountered. We ended up chatting for what felt like hours. The more we talked, the more I felt drawn to her genuine warmth and openness. What struck me most was Leah's remarkable ability to wear her heart on her sleeve, without any fear of judgment. Whether she was overjoyed, nostalgic, or even frustrated, her emotions flowed freely. She laughed wholeheartedly, teared up when recounting touching memories, and spoke passionately about her dreams and struggles. Her openness isn't just about expressing feelings, it's about creating a safe space for others to do the same. When I confided in her about my own challenges, she listened with such genuine empathy that I felt truly heard. She has this unique way of making people feel comfortable, something I deeply admire. All in all, I will forever be grateful to Sarah for inviting me. That party was not only the start of a fun evening, but also the beginning of a wonderful friendship. Through our friendship, I've learned that being emotionally open isn't a weakness, it's a strength that brings people closer and makes life more meaningful. If I hadn't attended that party, I might never have crossed paths with Leah.
Important equipment. Describe a piece of equipment that is important in your home. You should say what it is, how you use it, how often you use it, why it is important. I'd like to share one of the most versatile devices I've ever had in my home, my DeLonghi espresso machine. Whether you're a coffee addict or a casual drinker, this appliance has truly transformed my kitchen experience. A few years back, on the recommendation of my friend who's an absolute coffee enthusiast, I invested in this machine since my old one had become truly obsolete, and I was looking for something that could bring my coffee experience to the next level. I was initially hesitant because of my tight budget and my unfamiliarity with the brand. However, he persuaded me to keep an open mind and go for it. And let me tell you, upon unboxing it, I was impressed with its sleek design, capabilities, and easy-to-use interface, making it surprisingly simple to operate, even for someone not particularly tech-savvy. I quickly realized that this machine would not only make my morning routine more enjoyable, but would elevate it entirely. Now, I effortlessly create barista-quality drinks, something my old, outdated machine could never even come close to. What's even better? The DeLonghi consistently delivers perfect coffee with rich creamer, making it feel like I have a professional barista at my fingertips, without the cost of a coffee shop visit. But it doesn't end there. This machine has allowed me to experiment with different coffee beans, flavors, and textures, something I couldn't have done with my previous setup. Whether it's a strong espresso, a silky cappuccino, or a frothy latte, the possibilities feel endless. Honestly, I can't imagine starting my mornings without it. Every day, I look forward to that first cup, knowing it will be made just the way I like it. All in all, I am over the moon to have discovered this fantastic machine, and I won't regret purchasing it. If I hadn't taken the leap, I might never have discovered how easy it is to make barista-quality coffee right at home.
TV series. Describe a TV series that you like. You should say what it is about, who the main characters are, why you like it. I'd like to share with you one of the most memorable TV series I've ever come across. How I Met Your Mother, a sitcom that holds a special place in my heart. You might have watched it, but if not, trust me, it's worth giving a try. A few weeks ago, while browsing Netflix, I stumbled upon this show once again. Despite having seen a few episodes before, I decided to start from the very beginning and fully immerse myself in its story. From the first episode, I was hooked. Not only does it offer a brilliant mix of humor and heartfelt moments, but also the characters are incredibly well written, making it easy to connect with them. However, what truly sets it apart is its unique storytelling approach, where the main character, Ted Mosby, narrates his past to his children, taking the audience on a journey filled with love, friendship, and life lessons. Upon watching it more closely, I found myself particularly drawn to Barney Stinson, who is by far my favorite character. With his extravagant confidence, legendary catchphrases, and over-the-top lifestyle, he adds an irresistible charm to the show. His famous line, "Suit up," became one of the most iconic phrases in TV history, and honestly, his energy is just contagious. No matter the situation, Barney always manages to turn it into something fun, making him the ultimate scene stealer. What I love most about How I Met Your Mother is how it balances comedy with deeper, more emotional themes. Beyond the jokes and laughter, it explores important aspects of life, such as love, career struggles, personal growth, and the bittersweet nature of change. For me, How I Met Your Mother is more than just a sitcom. It's a journey filled with laughter, nostalgia, and profound life lessons that stick with you long after you've finished it. Whether it's Ted's hopeless romanticism, Marshall and Lily's adorable relationship, Robin's independence, or Barney's legendary antics, each character brings something unique to the show, making it an unforgettable experience. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. You're in for a ride.
Puzzle. Describe a puzzle that you solved. You should say what puzzle it was, how long it took to complete it, whether it was difficult or easy, how you felt about it. I'd like to share with you one of the most unexpectedly transformative experiences I've ever had, solving a puzzle that turned out to be much more than just a pastime. Everyone might have their own way of coping with stress. The simplest activities can have the most profound effects. A few years ago, I was completely drained. The constant pressure of work and the never-ending responsibilities had taken a serious toll on me. My stress levels were through the roof, and I could barely sleep at night. No matter how exhausted I was, my mind just wouldn't slow down. Then one day, my therapist suggested I pick up a hobby, something engaging yet soothing to help me unwind. At first, I had no idea what to choose. Then, while wandering through a stationery store, I stumbled upon a 2,000-piece puzzle featuring a stunning fairy bird, its intricate design woven with floral motifs and hidden animals. Something about it captivated me. It felt like it was waiting to be put together. Despite its high price, I bought it and took it home. The moment I spread the pieces across my table, I felt dizzy. It seemed impossibly complex. But I reminded myself that, like anything in life, I just had to start. I began with the edges, then matched colors and patterns. Some nights, I worked alone. Other times, friends joined in, turning it into a shared experience. Weeks passed, and piece by piece, the fairy bird took shape. The more I worked on it, the more I felt a shift within me. My stress began to ease, sleep improved, and I found unexpected joy in the process. It took ages, but when I finally placed the last piece, I felt an immense sense of accomplishment, one I hadn't felt in a long time. Now looking back, that puzzle became a symbol of resilience and patience, teaching me that even the most overwhelming challenges can be tackled one piece at a time. If I hadn't bought the puzzle, I might never have discovered the calming power of focusing on something beyond my worries. Person who protects the environment. Describe a person who helps to protect the environment. You should say who this person is, how this person protects the environment, whether it's easy or difficult for this person, how you feel about this person. I'd like to share with you one of the most inspiring people I've ever known, Mr. David Chen, a remarkable environmental advocate who has become a local hero in our neighborhood. Many of us may have encountered someone like him, whose dedication to protecting the environment is truly exceptional. As a retired high school science teacher, David now devotes his time entirely to environmental conservation. Rather than waiting for large-scale government action, he focuses on practical solutions. He regularly organizes tree planting campaigns, community cleanup events, and encourages people to recycle and compost. His goal is to inspire others to take responsibility for their surroundings and to demonstrate that environmental protection starts with individual and community efforts. One of his most notable achievements was revitalizing our neighborhood park, which had fallen into neglect. He approached this challenge by engaging with local residents, going door to door to discuss the issue and gather support. He also reached out to local council members, explaining the importance of restoring the park and the benefits it would bring to the community. His persistence paid off. He convinced the council to allocate funds for new playground equipment, fresh landscaping, and improved lighting. Despite his passion, David faces many challenges. Motivating people can be difficult, especially when results aren't immediate. He also struggles with limited resources when implementing larger projects. However, his determination and love for nature keep him going. I feel immense admiration and respect for David's dedication. What makes him particularly inspiring is not just his environmental work, but also his ability to bring people together for a common cause. He shows that environmental protection doesn't always require grand gestures or massive resources. Sometimes, it's about taking small but meaningful steps every day. His dedication reminds us all that we have the power to make a difference, no matter how big or small our efforts may seem. He proves that even small, consistent actions can create a lasting impact. Sport you like. Describe a sport you really like. You should say what it is, how you learn to do it, how often you do it, why you like it. I'd like to share with you one of the most exhilarating sports I've ever experienced: cycling. You might have experienced the pure joy of cycling, feeling the wind against your face as you pedal forward, leaving your worries behind. Well, my love for cycling began on my 9th birthday when I got a surprise pink bicycle from my parents. I was over the moon because I had been dreaming of it for months. Upon seeing my excitement, my dad took me to a nearby park where he could teach me how to ride safely and confidently. To start, he lowered the seat so I could touch the ground with both feet, giving me a sense of security. However, even with this adjustment, I still felt on edge, even though I knew he would support me if I fell. Despite his efforts, controlling the bike seemed impossible for me. So, a solution sparked in my dad's mind: training wheels. Guess what? They worked like magic, allowing me to ride and gain mastery. Shortly after, he carefully removed those extra wheels, and from then on, I was riding independently, no assistance required, and the more I practiced, the more confident I became. Over the years, my passion for cycling grew. I started exploring different styles, from leisurely rides around the city to more challenging routes through nature. I often embark on cycling adventures with my dad, friends, or even on my own during weekends or holidays, usually in the mornings when the weather is pleasantly cool, neither too hot nor too cold. We explore new trails, soaking in the sights and sounds of our surroundings. What I love most about cycling, aside from the physical benefits, is the opportunity to spend quality time with my loved ones. While pedaling along the trail, we chat about life, friends, and future dreams. These moments of laughter and bonding are some of my fondest memories. All in all, cycling has been an incredibly rewarding experience for me. It not only keeps me active and healthy but also brings peace to my life. If I hadn't started cycling as a child, I might never have discovered this wonderful way to connect with nature and people.
Live performance. Describe a live performance you enjoyed watching. You should say what performance it was, when and where it was, who were the performers, why you liked it. I'd like to share with you one of the most memorable live performances I've ever witnessed, one that truly touched my heart and lifted my spirits. Everyone might have experienced a spontaneous moment of joy that brightens their day in ways they never imagined, but anyway, let me tell you about my experience. Last year, while I was down in the dumps, my friend suggested a shopping spree, knowing that retail therapy could cheer me up like magic. Despite my reluctance, I agreed, hoping a change of scenery might help. While browsing the bustling market, my attention was drawn to a group of street performers. A small but enthusiastic band was playing an upbeat tune, and in front of them, a group of dancers had gathered, moving effortlessly to the rhythm. Their performance was a mix of traditional and contemporary dance, creating an infectious energy that spread through the crowd. The performers, dressed in colorful outfits, seemed completely immersed in the moment, and their joy was undeniably contagious. The most fascinating part, however, was how the audience became part of the spectacle. Pedestrians, ranging from an elderly woman with a walking stick to young children holding hands, started swaying to the rhythm. At first, I simply watched, mesmerized by their skill and sheer happiness. But as the music picked up, something shifted inside me. Without thinking twice, I joined in, clapping, laughing, and dancing with strangers who, for that brief time, felt like old friends. It was a rare and beautiful moment of unity, where worries faded, and only the present mattered. The performance was more than just entertainment. It was a reminder of how art connects and uplifts us. By the time the performance ended, I was laughing, my heart lighter than it had been in weeks. All in all, this experience stayed with me not only because of the talent of performers, but also because of how it transformed an ordinary day into something magical, reminding me that happiness can be found in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes, all it takes to lift your spirits is letting go and dancing to life's rhythm.
Law you like but want to change. Describe a newly enacted law that you like but you want to change part of it. You should say what the law is, how you first learned about this law, who benefits from this law, or who is affected by this law. Explain why you think this is a good law. I'd like to share one of the most significant environmental laws I've encountered: mandatory household waste recycling. Everyone might have heard about the growing concerns over waste management and environmental pollution, which have led governments worldwide to enforce stricter recycling policies. This law requires individuals to recycle their household waste, aiming to reduce landfill overflow and promote sustainable waste disposal practices. I first learned about it through a news article discussing new waste management regulations and their impact on households. While the primary goal of this regulation is to promote environmental responsibility and create a more sustainable future, the financial burden falls on individuals, who must cover the costs of sorting, packaging, and shipping recyclable materials. These additional responsibilities can be overwhelming, especially for low-income families who may struggle with the added expenses. Despite these challenges, the law offers significant benefits to society. By reducing pollution, conserving natural resources, and fostering a culture of sustainability, it contributes to a cleaner and healthier environment for future generations. However, the financial strain on individuals, particularly those from disadvantaged backgrounds, raises concerns about its fairness. I strongly support this law because it encourages individuals to take responsibility for their waste and adopt eco-friendly habits. However, I believe it could be improved if the government offered rewards to alleviate the economic burden on households. For instance, offering tax reductions or discounts on utility bills for those who actively recycle while imposing higher taxes or penalties on those who neglect their recycling duties could be effective. Such an approach would not only ensure greater participation but also reinforce the idea that environmental responsibility is a shared duty rather than an optional practice. Overall, making recycling mandatory is a positive step toward sustainability and environmental responsibility. However, adjusting the financial aspect by rewarding recyclers would make it even more effective and fair. Athlete or team. Describe a sports person or team that you like. You should say who this person is, what this person has achieved, how you know about this person, to explain why you like this person. I'd like to share with you one of the most inspiring athletes I've ever encountered, Lionel Messi. Everyone might have heard about his incredible skills and achievements, which are undeniable and have left a lasting impact on the world of football. Last year, I watched a documentary about his life and career, and it truly changed the way I view him, not only as a footballer, but also as a person. Messi is an Argentine professional football player who is considered one of the greatest of all time. Numerous Ballon d'Or awards have been won by him. These awards are given to the best player in the world. Moreover, he played a vital role in helping Argentina win the 2022 FIFA World Cup. That victory was especially meaningful because it fulfilled his lifelong dream and made his country extremely proud. It was a moment of joy not just for him, but for millions of fans around the globe who had followed his journey through thick and thin. I first got to know about Messi when I was a teenager and started watching football with my friends. Back then, he was playing for Barcelona, and I was amazed by how gracefully he moved with the ball. He wasn't the tallest or the strongest on the field, but his technique, intelligence, and vision set him apart from the crowd. It felt as if the ball had been glued to his feet, and every movement was made with effortlessly and precision. The more I watched him play, the more I realized that greatness isn't always loud. It can be quiet, focused, and incredibly powerful. The reason I really like Messi is not only because of his talent, but also his humble personality and work ethic. Despite his success, he keeps his feet on the ground and stays focused. He's not flashy or arrogant, and he always puts the team above himself. I find that very admirable in today's world where many athletes seem more interested in fame than the sport itself. His calm demeanor, respect for others, and quiet leadership are what make him truly exceptional. Overall, Messi is more than a sports person. He's a symbol of perseverance, dedication, and quiet strength. If Barcelona hadn't signed him when he was just a young boy with a dream and a medical condition, the world might never have witnessed his genius. His story is a reminder that with support, determination, and hard work, even the most unlikely dreams can come true against all odds.
Day off. Describe a time when you had a day off, free from work or study. You should say what you did, where you were, when it was, who you went with, how you felt about it. I'd like to share with you one of the most peaceful days I've ever experienced. During a much-needed day off, visiting Whispering Pines, a natural campsite in the heart of Scotland's countryside. It's my go-to spot for blowing off steam, reconnecting with nature, and recharging my batteries. You might have experienced the magic of camping, but if not, trust me, it's absolutely worth a try. A few years back, on a rainy Thursday in late spring, while I was down in the dumps, my therapist gave me a cool tip. Find your happy place and escape. So, upon coming across a pristine forest retreat on a TV program, I packed my bags, hit the road, and gave it a shot. Even though I thought camping might not be my cup of tea, I was wrong. It turned out to be one of the best decisions I've ever made. I went there with one of my closest friends, Sarah, someone who understands my need for quiet and stillness. We brought along just the essentials, tents, a little portable stove, and a couple of books, and left all digital distractions behind. Upon arriving there, I was blown away by the stunning views. It was otherworldly. Towering pine trees swayed gently in the breeze, and the only sounds we heard were the rustling of leaves and the occasional birdsong. We spent the day hiking through the forest, collecting wild berries, and lying on a blanket near a small stream, just watching the clouds drift by. Later, we built a fire, cooked a simple meal under the stars, and talked for hours about life, dreams, and everything in between. It felt like time slowed down. You know, what I still find engrossing, apart from its jaw-dropping scenery, was its tranquility, far from the city's chaos, which not only relieved my stress, but also lifted my spirits. I felt a deep sense of calm that I hadn't experienced in years. All in all, discovering Whispering Pines has been a gift, one I'll cherish forever. It reminded me of how important it is to take a real break, away from screens, deadlines, and expectations. If I hadn't taken that chance, I might never have known this place existed. So, next time you're overwhelmed, do yourself a favor, find your happy place and escape. It doesn't have to be a remote forest in Scotland, it just needs to be somewhere that fills your soul with peace. I promise you won't regret it. Place with a lot of trees. Describe a place with a lot of trees that you would like to visit, for example, forest, oasis. You should say what park it is, where it is, how you know about it, why you want to go there, what it is like. I'd like to share with you one of the most breathtaking and dreamlike places I've ever come across online. Everyone might have their own bucket list of travel destinations, but let me tell you about a place that has truly captured my heart and imagination, Takato Castle Ruins Park in Japan. I would really love to visit it one day, especially in April, when it's at its most spectacular. I came across this magical location in a short video clip on Instagram. The reel was titled, 10 Places You Must See Before You Die, and as soon as I saw the cherry blossoms in full bloom, I was completely mesmerized. The video showed a sea of delicate pink petals surrounding ancient stone ruins, with soft sunlight filtering through the branches. It looked like something straight out of a fairy tale. It is located in Nagano Prefecture, in central Japan. While the castle itself no longer stands, the park is famous for having over 1,500 cherry blossom trees, create a truly enchanting atmosphere. Every spring, the entire park turns into a pink paradise that draws visitors from all over the world. I would love to visit this park once in April, when the cherry blossoms are in full bloom. Not only is it visually stunning, but it also seems like a peaceful place to relax and connect with nature. I love places that combine history, nature, and culture, and this park does exactly that. I think spending time under the cherry blossoms, feeling the breeze, and seeing petals gently fall would be a deeply calming and unforgettable experience. In short, Takato Castle Ruins Park is far more than just a scenic spot. It's like a living painting that comes alive each spring. It beautifully blends the remnants of Japan's past with the fleeting beauty of cherry blossoms, which symbolize both elegance and impermanence, themes that resonate with me on a personal level. I hope someday I'll get the chance to experience it in person. Phone conversation. Describe an occasion when you heard a stranger speaking on the phone in public. You should say when it was, where it was, what you were doing at that time, what they said, what you felt. I'd like to share with you one of the most unexpected and entertaining moments I've ever experienced on public transportation. Everyone might have overheard phone calls on buses or subway trains, but let me tell you about the culinary masterclass I accidentally attended during my morning commute. It was around 8 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. I was half asleep, commuting to work on a crowded city bus, mentally preparing myself for another boring day. Suddenly, a loud ringtone pierced the sleepy air. It was one of those classic Nokia in 2002 ringtones. Everyone looked up. A sweet elderly lady, probably in her 70s, picked up the phone and said, "Hello." But since her hearing wasn't great, she immediately put the call on loudspeaker. Apparently, it was her daughter on the line asking for the sacred recipe of some traditional family dish. You'd think they were discussing nuclear codes with how intense it got. But she started giving the recipe step by step, loud and proud, without missing a beat. She was like, "First, you take the onions, not the big ones, the sweet ones, and you fry them until they're golden. Not brown, golden. Then you add the turmeric, but don't be stingy, girl." At this point, the whole bus slowly became silent. I swear even the driver was listening. One woman sitting nearby pulled out a pen from her bag like a ninja and started writing it down on the back of her receipt. I saw a teenager typing furiously on her notes app. We were all invested. I was trying so hard not to laugh out loud. Honestly, she was more engaging than any podcast I'd ever listened to. I felt amused, curious, and a little bit hungry, to be honest. But mostly, I was touched by the sweetness of the moment. A mother passing down a cherished recipe, not caring that half the city was listening. All in all, that bus ride went from boring to legendary. I still wonder if that lady in the back row ever cooked the dish. If she did, I hope it tasted like home-cooked heaven, just as the grandma intended. Foreign food you like. Describe a kind of foreign food you like and you have tried. You should say what food it was, when it happened, where you ate it, how you felt about it. I'd like to share with you one of the most unforgettable meals I've ever had at a wedding celebration. You may have attended many weddings, some with exceptional food and others with rather ordinary meals. But let me tell you about one meal that truly stood out to me and left a lasting impression. This dish is often served at upscale celebrations like weddings and anniversary parties, because it represents high-quality cuisine and luxury. Last year, I was invited to the wedding of a close friend who comes from a very affluent family. The event itself was absolutely spectacular, with breathtaking decorations, live music, and a dazzling ambience that made the entire evening feel like something out of a fairy tale. However, what truly made the occasion stand out was the incredible dining experience. Among the many delicious dishes served, one that particularly caught my attention was chicken with white wine sauce, a classic French dish. This mouth-watering meal was nothing short of a dream, a tender, juicy chicken cooked in a creamy sauce made from white wine, butter, garlic, and herbs, served alongside beverages, including a dry white wine to complement the dish flavors. But what made this meal even more special wasn't just the dish itself, but the way it was prepared and presented. Rather than serving pre-cooked meals, The hosts went the extra mile by hiring a renowned French chef to prepare everything fresh, right before our eyes, using an open grill and barbecue setup in the beautifully decorated garden. Watching the chef meticulously marinate the chicken, grill it to perfection, and then prepare the luxurious white wine sauce with expert precision right in front of us made the experience even more fascinating and memorable. Looking back, I feel incredibly fortunate to have been part of that celebration. If I hadn't attended that wedding, I might never have tasted such an amazing dish. Even now, whenever I think about that evening, the memory of that dish, and the joy of witnessing its preparation firsthand, brings a smile to my face.
Activity your friend has done. Describe an interesting activity your friend has done, but you haven't and you want to try. You should say what activity it was, when it was, why you haven't done it, why do you want to try it. I'd like to share with you one of the most fascinating experiences I've ever heard about from a friend. Everyone might have dreamed of escaping the noise of the city and finding peace in nature, but let me tell you about something truly magical that my friend experienced, sleeping under the stars in the heart of the Sahara Desert. Last year, my close friend went on a camping trip to Morocco and spent a few nights in the Sahara. She joined a guided desert tour that included camel rides, traditional Berber food, and setting up camp right in the middle of the dunes. The part that amazed me the most was when she described lying on a soft blanket of sand, surrounded by silence, with nothing but stars overhead. She said it felt like she was floating in the universe. There were no buildings, no lights, just the pure connection between earth and sky. She even mentioned how the air felt different, cool, dry, and incredibly still. It made me realize how disconnected we often are from the natural world in our everyday lives. As for me, I've never done anything like that because I've never traveled to a desert region. Most of my trips have been to cities or forests, and I haven't had the chance to explore such a unique environment yet. It also takes careful planning and sometimes a long journey, which I haven't managed to organize due to my busy schedule and limited travel opportunities. But I truly want to try it because I love the idea of silence, stars, and connecting with nature in a deeper way. The desert seems like the perfect place to feel peaceful and reflect. I imagine the stillness would be healing, and seeing the stars without light pollution must be a sight for sore eyes. It's not just about the thrill, it's also about experiencing a different pace of life, far from screens, crowds, and constant noise. I think being in such a vast, open space would help me hit the reset button and maybe even reconnect with myself. All in all, sleeping under the stars in the desert is definitely something I hope to do one day. Hearing my friend's story really inspired me, and I believe it would be an unforgettable moment of calm and wonder that I'd carry with me forever. Unforgettable experience. Describe an unforgettable experience you had. You should say what it was, who was with you, why you did it, why you think it was unusual. I'd like to share one of the most unforgettable adventures I've ever undertaken, solo camping at Whispering Pines, a recently renovated campsite nestled in the middle of serene countryside. You might have experienced the exhilaration of it, but if not, trust me, it's absolutely worth trying at least once in your life. It all started last year during one of my therapy sessions. My therapist, who often nudges me out of my comfort zone, gave me a simple but powerful piece of advice: face your fears. Try something new. At the time, I didn't think much of it. But a few days later, while casually watching TV, I came across a pristine campsite in the heart of the countryside on a program. Something about that place stirred something deep in me. I couldn't stop thinking about it. So, I packed my bags, hit the road, and gave it a shot. Even though I thought it might not be my cup of tea, I was wrong. it turned out to be one of the best decisions I've ever made, so my adventure commenced. Now let me tell you, while driving out of the city, I felt on edge, nervous about navigating unfamiliar roads on my own, and unsure of how I'd handle the solitude. But surprisingly, the more miles passed, the more my worries faded away. Furthermore, I kept my spirits high by focusing on the positive things I had seen on the show. When I finally arrived at the campsite, I was blown away by the stunning views. It was otherworldly. Towering trees, whispering breezes, and the scent of pine all around, it felt like stepping into a peaceful world. I immersed myself in hiking, took tons of photos, and spent a mood-boosting night under the dazzling stars, listening to the quiet hum of nature. There was no Wi-Fi, no distractions, just me, the wild, and a deepening sense of self-awareness. What set this adventure apart was not only the novelty of solo travel but also how confronting fear paved the way for vital life lessons, risk-taking and trusting my abilities. I had never pitched a tent on my own before, never started a fire, or navigated a hiking trail solo. But I did it all, and with each small victory, I felt more empowered. In the end, it was a life-changing experience, and the lessons will forever stay with me. If I hadn't pushed myself past my comfort zone, I might never have discovered the joy of camping. Whispering Pines wasn't just a destination, it became a turning point. And I can honestly say, I came back changed.
Water sport. Describe a water sport you want to try. You should say what the sport is, whether it will be easy or difficult, what you would have to do for it, why you want to do it. I'd like to share one of the most exciting water activities I've ever dreamed of trying: snorkeling. You've probably seen it in movies, nature documentaries, or travel blogs, where people effortlessly glide across the water's surface, watching schools of fish dart through coral reefs. But for me, it's more than just a visually stunning experience. It's something I've long been fascinated by and am genuinely eager to try for myself. Snorkeling is a water activity that allows you to swim near the surface of the ocean while wearing a diving mask and a breathing tube, known as a snorkel. Unlike scuba diving, which requires heavy gear and formal certification, snorkeling is more accessible. All you need is some basic swimming ability and comfort in the water. It's a window into the underwater world, a chance to observe marine life in its natural habitat, gliding past coral reefs, and watching vibrant sea creatures. It's usually done in shallow, tropical waters where visibility is good and marine biodiversity is rich. One of the reasons I find it so appealing is that it seems both thrilling and calming at the same time. It doesn't involve the pressure of deep-sea diving or technical complexity, but it still offers an immersive experience. You don't need to carry oxygen tanks on your back or go through rigorous training. Of course, it's still important to stay calm and not panic while breathing through the snorkel, but overall, it seems beginner-friendly. To try it, I'd probably need to take a short training session or join a beginner's tour with a guide who can explain how to use the equipment properly and stay safe. I'd also have to find a good location, maybe somewhere like Thailand, the Maldives, or even the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, where the water is clear and full of vibrant sea creatures. Furthermore, I'd need to either rent or buy the right equipment, including a well-fitting mask, a snorkel, and a pair of fins for easier swimming. In the end, what draws me to snorkeling the most is my deep fascination with marine life and the serene, otherworldly beauty of the ocean. I think snorkeling would be an unforgettable way to connect with nature and escape from the stress of everyday life. It's like entering a different world, peaceful, colorful, and full of life. It would not only be an adventure, but also a chance to recharge my batteries and feel truly alive. It's like hitting the reset button on your soul. Surprise meeting. Describe a time when you were surprised to meet a friend. You should say when it was, who you met, where it was, why you were surprised to meet him or her. I'd like to share with you one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had at a party, an unexpected connection that left a lasting impact. You might have had a similar experience, but let me tell you about mine. Last year, while I was down in the dumps, my therapist suggested expanding my connections to lift my mood. Despite initial reluctance, I decided to boost my social circle. So, when my friend Sarah invited me to her reunion party, I jumped at the chance. She threw a party at her home to reunite university friends and bring back good memories. You know, as soon as I stepped into her home, the room was filled with laughter, joy, and the familiar faces of friends who I hadn't seen in years. The air buzzed with nostalgia and a sense of belonging. People hugged, laughed, caught up on each other's lives, and reminisced about carefree student days. Now let me tell you, while navigating the crowd, I suddenly noticed someone I barely expected to see, Emma. A vibrant and energetic woman whom I vaguely remembered from my university days. You know, I hadn't known she'd moved back to town, let alone that she'd be at the party. We ended up chatting for what felt like hours. We laughed about silly college memories, shared our recent life journeys, and bonded over our love for travel and spontaneous adventures. The more we talked, the more I found myself drawn to her. What struck me most was Emma's ability to truly listen and her genuine engagement in our conversation. All in all, I'll forever be grateful to Sarah for inviting me. That evening not only lifted my spirits, but also marked the beginning of a beautiful friendship. If I hadn't gone to that party, I might never have crossed paths with Emma again, and my life would be missing the amazing friend who now helps me see the world through fresh eyes and reminds me every day that the best connections often happen when we least expect them. Discovering something interesting. Describe something interesting that you and your friend have discovered. You should say what it was, how you discovered it, how you felt about it. I'd like to share with you one of the most unexpected and helpful discoveries I've ever made during my academic journey, a YouTube channel that turned out to be a game changer for both me and my friend during our IELTS preparation. Now, I know it's common for people to turn to YouTube for study tips or tutorials, but believe me, this particular channel was on a whole different level. At the time, my friend and I were deep in the thick of IELTS prep, and honestly, we were feeling pretty overwhelmed, especially when it came to the speaking and writing sections, which we found the most challenging. One evening, while we were exchanging voice notes to practice some speaking topics, my friend randomly came across this channel. Ironically, it came up after she typed something like "how not to fail IELTS" into the search bar. We clicked on it just for fun at first, not expecting much, maybe just a quick laugh or a few tips. But within minutes, we were hooked. The content was surprisingly engaging and, more importantly, incredibly useful. The instructor had a way of explaining things so clearly and concisely that even the trickiest parts of the exam suddenly felt manageable. What stood out the most was how approachable the videos were, filled with sample answers, smart strategies, and even bits of humor and real-life context that made everything easier to understand and remember. We were honestly amazed. It felt like we had uncovered a secret weapon in our IELTS arsenal. From that point on, we made it a habit to watch the videos together, often pausing to discuss the content, brainstorm responses, or even mimic the speaking exercises. It turned something stressful into a shared, even fun, routine, something we actually looked forward to after long days of studying. Looking back, I still smile at how random it all was. If my friend hadn't clicked on that video out of curiosity, we might have missed out on one of the most effective resources we found. It's funny how some of the best discoveries happen when you least expect them, and how a simple YouTube search can lead to something that truly changes the way you learn.